It's good day to brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy. Back at home Town Commander, back for another episode of Millsy Brews, the show where I brew my version 1.0 deck list for the Commander in front of us on my quest to brew the Magic world. As always, that deck list is going to be down in the description for you below. As well as I'd really appreciate it if you could interact with the video, like, comment, subscribe, consider joining the memberships for the channel. Check out the links in the description. I'd really appreciate it. But this week, since we've nailed through most of those Bloomburrow commanders I wanted to run through, we're getting into some old stuff, getting into some fun stuff, taking a gander at what new has come out and just allow it to interest us in trying different things. And I thought I'd reach back like I did yesterday on the channel and pick an older deck that we brewed a long time ago and bring it back into the modern light. And I decided yesterday to do Myra, and today we're doing Marneus Calgar, an Esper tokens commander with double strike that says whenever one or more tokens enter under our control, we draw a card, and for 6 mana we can make 2 creature tokens with vigilance. Marneus, of course, was a part of the 40k deck. It's a very popular commander with its ability to draw when we make tokens. And that's a lot of what the deck's trying to do. We're going to make tokens to draw cards. We're going to have a bunch of abilities that are going to pay off the fact that we're drawing cards to do various effects. And then we're going to try to win the game by combat. Get stuck in, get in there with the tokens, and try to win the game that way. Well, as far as making tokens go, there's plenty of ways to do it. We have Elspeth Sun's Chamber, which can make 3 of them every turn as a Planeswalker. Also have a little bit of a board wipe and a buff on it as well, so a great, well-rounded Planeswalker. Adeline makes it a 1/1 human attacking every player when we attack each turn. A very useful effect because Adeline doesn't have to attack for the effect, meaning you're going to always be getting those tokens. Remember that Marneus' ability is whenever 1 or more tokens come in, we draw a card, meaning every individual effect that would create a token is what draws us. I do believe Adeline would be just 1, but another one that can definitely rack us up some card draws if our opponents aren't careful is something like Charismatic Conqueror. Its ability says whenever an artifact or creature comes in untapped under an opponent's control, they may tap it, and if they don't, we get a 1/1 vampire with lifelink. This is a great ability because it's kind of a blind obedience style ability that just says they all come in tapped. But our opponent gets the choice, and they know that if they don't, we get that 1/1 and a card if Marneus is out. And in all reality, we get a 1/1 lifelinker that's just going to end up being more value for us anyway if they don't. Kumbal, Profiteering Mayor, feels really good in a deck like this, right? Can make us tokens on our opponent's turn whenever they make them, up to once per turn. And then whenever we make 1 or more tokens, everybody loses 1 and we gains 1. This pairs really well with a lot of things because we can hopefully get tokens on our opponent's turns, but then we're going to be just slowly grinding our opponents out that way with that 1 life. Inquisitora Rosette came in this deck, and it's one of my favorites. If you have a commander that cares anything at all about tokens, it says whenever the creature attacks, we make a 2/2 Astartes Warrior with Vigilance that's attacking, and then all attacking creatures get Menace until end of turn. This is going to help make our creatures just that little bit harder to block and really take advantage of getting in to combat, especially with Marneus, who sits as a pretty good body with double strike. Thousand Mood Smithy from LCI feels like a great spot here. When it comes in, you make a Gnome Soldier that's a star where star's the number of artifacts and or creatures you control. And then during our pre-combat main phase, we can tap 5 untapped artifacts or creatures to flip it over, and it turns into a land with anytime we use its mana for a permanent, we make another one of those Gnome Soldiers. And believe me, those Gnome Soldiers are going to get big and going to get hard to deal with, especially if we compare them with any of these other types of abilities, including one of my other favorites out of that 40k deck in Thunderhawk Gunship. This is a vehicle that when it comes in, makes 2/2/2 warriors with vigilance. It's a crew 2. And then whenever it attacks, all attacking creatures get flying till end of turn. Just a way to get our things in the air, get them out of the way, and hopefully hit in for big damage. Bitter Blossom feels great here, getting us a token every turn, meaning with Marneus out, we're going to draw every turn and just get our board up and up over time. We're also playing things, like Skrelv's Hive, which does the same thing. And then Luminarch Ascension is a card I really enjoy. This is the beginning of each opponent's end step. If you didn't lose life that turn, you may put a quest counter on it. And then for 2 mana, as long as it has 4 more quest counters on it, you just make 4/4 angels with flying. I love this ability because if we have spare mana or we have a little bit left, we just start making these angels that can block. We can make them in block if we need to. We can make them before our turn so we can attack with them. There's a lot of fun things we can do with Luminarch Ascension, and I think they're really important. It's an important piece that we can use to make tokens. As far as our draw payoffs go, right, because Marneus is drawing us all these cards, we have things like Teferi Temporal Pilgrim, which can make a token on its -2. It says whenever you draw a card, put a counter on that creature, and Teferi gets a counter every time we draw a card. 0 draws us a card. And then -12 just basically gives someone a pseudo cyclonic rift to just shuffle most of their board back into their library. It's a brutal effect, and it should be very easy to get up to the -12 with Teferi, with how much we should potentially be drawing off of Marneus. Nadir Kraken is a 2/3 that says whenever we draw a card, we can pay 1. If we do, we put a counter on it and create a 1/1 tentacle. Nadir Kraken kind of makes this fun loop where if we have Marneus and Nadir Kraken out, we don't have anything to do with the rest of our mana. Well, as long as we make a token, we can pay 1, put a counter on the Kraken, and make another token, which is going to draw us a card, allow us to pay another 1, put another counter on it, make another token, and we could just use all our mana to make 1/1 blue tentacle creature tokens and grow Nadir Kraken and still get value from it as a way to just push through our deck. To me, I kind of look at this like another copy of something like Skull Clamp, because you're just getting cards and you're getting more tokens to keep the process going. And then Ominous Seas, whenever we draw a card, we put a counter on it, remove 8 counters from it, and make an 8/8 Kraken, and we can do that repeatably. The only thing I didn't show here that I should have is the number of creatures that say whenever you draw your second card each turn, make a token. Since Marneus is going to be drawing us so many cards, I think things like Min Wily Illusionist and creatures like that are probably really helpful for the deck. I don't know why they weren't on the PowerPoint. I apologize about that, but they'll be in the list, and you'll be able to see them in there. And then we made our tokens. We're drawing cards. At the end of the day, we want to get stuck in. We have things like for the Emperor, give all of our creatures +2/+2 lifelink, get Vigilance until end of turn. Feldar Retreat kind of plays double duty in the deck, right? Giving us either a cat beast when a land comes in, or giving all of our creatures a +1/+1 counter and Vigilance. And the middle card might look a little odd because we saw Elspeth, right, on the first slide, but this feels weird, right? Enchant a Planeswalker. Planeswalker gets +1 to make 3 soldiers. The reason this is here is because I think there's a lot of great Planeswalkers that make tokens. Not only that, but there's a lot of great Planeswalkers that can give our tokens lifelink. They can give our creatures lifelink. They can give them other abilities. And I think that's important when we're going to be trying to go wide to really take advantage. I mean, think about it. If I have 8 2/2s and I can give them all, +1/+0 lifelink, or just lifelink in general, I have no problem free swinging with them, right? Because I'm just going to gain 15, 16, 18 life off of it. And I think that's important. So we're playing a few Planeswalkers in the deck, so Elspeth's talent should always have something to attach to. But the big one is, whenever we activate a loyalty ability of the Planeswalker that's enchanted, all of our creatures get +2/+2 and Vigilance on the turn, which is just going to get us a big buff on our board and allow us to attack in and be back to block. Inspiring Leader and Intangible Virtue both can just buff all of our creature tokens, whereas Flowering of the White Tree is going to buff all of our creatures. Our non-legendary creatures get +1/+1, and the legendary ones get +2/+1 and Ward 1. That's great with Calgar, because we're going up to we're going up from a 2/6 to a 4/7, right? And that's a pretty important ability if you think about it. Let's double check. Calgar is a 3/5, so we're going to a 5/6 with Double Strike, which is a big body that our opponents have to deal with, and that is very important, not just to buff all of our tokens, but to buff our creatures and that little bit of Ward 1 to save our board. But I've said it on the show before, and I'll say it again. No deck's ever complete. This is my version 1.0 shot at it, and that means there's a lot of things that I'd want to be finding out and testing. Are my ratios correct? Do I have enough token makers? Do I have enough draw payoffs? Do I have enough protection pieces? And the 3 cards on the screen are really exactly that. Illustrious Wanderglyph can make a 1/1 gnome on everybody's upkeep. Meaning with Calgar out, we're going to be drawing lots of cards, and then once we hit the City's Blessing, all of our artifact creatures get +2/+2. Mural is a perfect example of a card who can protect us and make tokens. During our turn, our opponents can't cast spells or activate abilities of artifacts, creatures, or enchantments, and then when she attacks, she makes soldiers. The only reason Mural isn't in the list originally is because Mural's price tag has gone up slightly, and I was trying my best to, as I do in this show, keep myself to a budget, but I think Mural would be a snap ad if I just raised the budget just a little bit. And then Flare of Fortitude being another protection spell. We have multiple in the deck. Clever Concealment, Flawless Maneuver, Unbreakable Formation. We have a few in the deck, but if we really thought we needed another one, I think Flare's a great one, since we should be able to play it for free most of the time if need be. But let's get into our playtest. Let's have some fun. Let's look at it. So we've got a 4-lander, Contaminated Landscape, 2 plains and a swamp. That Ominous Seas, a Sword to Plowshares, and a Mortify. So right now, I think we want that landscape to get a blue so we can get that Ominous Seas in. But let's see if turn one doesn't change our mind. It doesn't. I think I'm just going to play this and crack it. to go get us an island. I think it makes sense if we have nothing better to do here on turn 2 to get that get this Ominous Seas going as we work our way up to Calgar, and that way we can get some counters on it quicker, right? Because here in turn 3 we're getting another counter, our first counter on it. Here I guess I just leave up, right, Swords to Plowshares and Mortify. I guess I probably should have done that now that I think about it, to leave up Mortify. But hey, there we go. Now we got options. We can be affecting our opponents if they try things too early. Turn 4 we get another counter, an Ominous Seas, and unfortunately we're just 1 mana away from Calgar. We're 1 mana after that away from, you know, our big things that we have it. So we're going a teeny bit slower than I would have liked here, but I think it's okay. I think with the removal we're seeing here wide open, I think we're A-okay, and I'd probably just run out Calgar here on turn 5. Next turn we can make some tokens with like Elspeth or with Thunderhawk Gunship. I think there's other ways to make tokens, but we do have to pull Calgar out into the fray here for just a little bit. So he'll have to kind of survive our turn cycle, but I think it'll be okay. So I guess the option here becomes, do we do something like Elspeth or we do something like the Rosette to give everybody Menace? I think Elspeth's the answer here, just to get us the most amount of tokens so we can, right, so we can block. I think at the end of the day that's important to keep ourselves from being a completely free attack. Because we make the 3 tokens at the same time, we're only going to get 1 draw, which is okay, but that does get another counter on Ominous Seas. Working our way up to the 8. Now we have some of these guys to block. We can attack with Calgar if we want to. But I think I like it now that we have just a couple blockers to stop our opponents from doing anything too fancy. Turn 7, right? We've got 7 lands now. I like the Rosette as a way to potentially get our tokens in for damage. Same thing with something like Gunship. I think right, Black Market Connections could be good to get us some extra value. But we have to remember that, like, by making tokens, we're drawing cards, right? So I think I would probably just go ahead and, if I need to wipe the board, right, if there's a bunch of things at power 4 or greater, we just -3 Elspeth here. Otherwise, I think we just +1 again, make a couple soldiers and draw a card again, just to see if it changes my play, and it doesn't. I think I'd play the Gunship, make the 2 Astartes warrior tokens, draw again, right, just to see if we hit anything different. This goes up to, what, 7 now this turn? So we're just 1 draw away. That leaves me the mana open for either Path or Swords if we haven't used them yet. Again, maybe I take an attack with Calgar here if I have it, but otherwise I got a nice board to protect myself. And I threaten getting Elspeth up in 2 turns to that big +2/+2 and flying. So we'll go next turn here into turn 8. Play an untapped land. We play the Rosette, attach it, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, if we have the Ominous Seas now, right? If we need to minus Elspeth, we do it. Otherwise, again, we plus up 3 more, draw for turn. We can crew the Thunderhawk Gunship with one of the warriors, giving all of our creatures flying now. Right, I don't necessarily want to use the Seas just yet. I mean, I'm content with it sitting there. But I'd move to attack. The Gunship attacks, this attacks. We attack with as many as we want. They all have flying. We make another warrior with vigilance that's attacking, which is going to draw us a card. And now, they have Menace and flying, so they're going to be hard to block. We got a couple more on the ground here. We have the removal, right, still held up. And I think now it's just turning through more of our deck. You know, we can make the Kraken on somebody else's turn to draw a card. Elspeth could -7, you know, to give us all that buff. I think we're in a good spot here. We built up the board tokens. We kind of showed what we can do as we're just drawing, right, and accumulating value over those turns. But let's get into Playtest 2, keeping a 5-lander with Inquisitor Greyfax, which gives all of our creatures +1/+0 and vigilance. And lets us tap a creature down to investigate, which does make a token, which would draw off Calgar. And then Caretaker's Talent, right, from Bloomburrow. Whenever 1 or more tokens come in, draw a card, only once per turn. We can make a token on level 2 and then +2/+2 on level 3. So a great little hand here, and topping that Soul Ring I feel like is absolutely key here. This could see us have a turn 3 Calgar because we play 1 or 2 of these. And we should have Calgar basically turn 3. So turn 2 here, We get to see one of my favorite planeswalkers, two of my favorite planeswalkers in the deck, other than that Teferi, Sorin, Solemn Visitor. The +1 can give all of our creatures +1/+0 lifelink, or for the -2 we can make a vampire. And then getting up to the -6, we start forcing opponents to sacrifice creatures. I could get I think Caretaker's Talent or Sorin down here on turn 2. I can't get Greyfax down. I don't have the right mana, but I do have mana enough for either of these. And I think I'd kind of just rather Sorin, and then I'm thinking -2 to get that vampire. I know we don't get to draw off of Calgar, but I think the important part here is that we have something to block. I doubt anybody's going to get too deep on turn 2, but you never know what we're playing up against and what people may have. Turn 3, get the Catacombs down. We have Thought Vessel. I can't Thought Vessel into Calgar. I could Thought Vessel into Greyfax, or Thought Vessel, plus, into Greyfax, but I can't Thought Vessel into Calgar. Greyfax doesn't seem like a bad thing to set up either. Remember, it's turn 3. Like, my gut really tells me to do something like Thought Vessel into Greyfax, just because then we are setting up more for next turn. I mean, if we slam Calgar this turn, that's all we're doing, right? We don't want a -2 Sorin to get rid of it. We're just going to end up +1ing Sorin for the lifelink anyway. I just feel like that's our best option. The vampire hits somebody for 3 in the air, and it has vigilance or 4 in the air, right? Because of Greyfax. And now next turn, we're at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Maybe we could potentially Calgar plus something else. We could still make the token from Sorin. I think our curve's going right. It's scary to say that we are now at turn 4 with 7 mana on board, but that's just what what Sorin does so well. I mean, my gut almost tells me to go Caretakers into Adeline this turn instead of Calgar. Because if I go Calgar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I only have 2 mana left, so I can't do Caretakers or Adeline. I could still draw though, right? Because I could still tap down something with Greyfax. The issue this turn isn't the land drop; it's just physically the amount of mana I have. So I guess to me it just makes the most sense to Caretaker's Talent, Adeline, right? Tick up Sorin again, give the lifelink, which will only work on the vampire, unfortunately, because if I attack, I made the 1/1s after I activated Sorin. But I go to attack, right? Make the 3 1/1s attacking all of our opponents. I draw a card off the Caretaker's Talent. Greyfax is giving that +1, so it's going to hit somebody in the air and draw some good stuff that way. But we still have 1 mana left over, meaning we could still tap down something with Greyfax if we want to. But again, a couple of these humans probably die in combat here on turn 4. But the point is, we drew the card. We got Sorin up to where we can make the 2/2 next turn. I think we just go into turn 5. Remember, we're still ahead. We're still plays ahead of playing him on rate, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. The Erenvale comes in tap, so 7. I think we go Calgar into the Virtue, just so that way now we can start attacking with that little bit of buff and vigilance. Sorin, I like the idea of, let me see, right? Adeline's gonna automatically make us tokens, so maybe we just do the lifelink again, try to get our way up to the emblem. Move to combat, attack. Adeline makes us cut more humans, which only draws us 1 from Calgar, but it is going to draw us another 1 from the Caretaker's Talent. Now, these are attacking as 3/2s, right, because of the Virtue and the Greyfax. This is a 3/3, 4/3, 5/3 because of Sorin, so that's gaining us a bunch of life in the air. And I think you can start to see where this lifelink payoff and these vigilance payoffs together work really well once these tokens start sticking around. Obviously, in those early turns, everyone's going to block a 1/1. But think about this next turn. Now they're attacking as 3/2s without Sorin's buff, but we're going to Sorin's buff again, so now they're 4/2s with lifelink, and we're making more of them. This is, with any token deck, this is kind of this spinning wheel that you're trying to hit, where you're getting the value and you're keeping it. keeping it going. We'll go one more turn. So let's say, you know, one or two of these humans die. Obviously, you know, people are probably going to block them. This turn we see Dark Ritual, which is certainly interesting. There probably could be a world where we level up this Caretaker's class this turn to get another big buff, right? We would need 4 mana to level it up at this point. We would get an extra token of our choice. So let's think about this. If I go both of these, the Talisman and the Arcane Signet, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, which would be enough to level up the talent. I could Dark Ritual and play both, leaving me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana, leaving me 6 mana left. Level up the talent, right? So I'm going to go all the way up to level 3. I'm going to use the talent to make a copy of the Vampire, which draws me a card, right, because of Calgar. Sorin, I think I'm just going to, again, tick up again, give everything that's here, +1/+0 and lifelink. And that means what? So we used 1 there, 1, 2, 3 to get it up, 1 to get up there. So I should still have 3 or 4 mana untapped to be able to leave these up. Again, go to combat, 3 more humans, draw me a card. And this is a big combat because they have vigilance, so these guys aren't tapping. We're at +2, +2, +3, +3, +4, +3, and then +5, +3 for these for Sorin. So they're hitting hard and gaining us a ton of life. And this is where I kind of like these Sorins for these token decks, is because that life is going to compound. Last turn we got, what, 12 to 14? This turn we're probably getting 20 to 25. The only risk at this point is somebody knocking us out with commander damage, and we get attack for free with Adeline here, right? She's only getting the +1/+0 buff, +2/+0 buff, right? So she's still a 12 for her. So we still have to be slightly careful, but again, 12 life, you know, I mean, you can just kind of see how the snowball is going to get into effect and really push forward. But let me know, what do you think of Calgar? Do you have a Calgar deck? I know that Calgar is a really old commander, but I think a lot of people like it. And again, using all of our 1, 2, 3, 4 planeswalkers that can make tokens, 1 that can double the amount of tokens we make, and then 1 that just gives them all lifelink and lets us reanimate stuff back. So that's kind of how the breakdown looks there. Well, let me know, what do you think of Calgar down in the comment section below, and I catch you guys next time.